Good day to everybody. Welcome to Grid Dynamics Dynamic Talks. And today we have a very special webinar for you. We're going to be talking about the building blocks of modern search with AWS and Knowde, along with Grid Dynamics. My name is June Bauer, and I'd like to welcome you here to our webinar. I think it's going to be a really fascinating and interesting discussion today. And we are so lucky to have some amazing speakers with us today. Before we get started, I want to talk about you, our audience, and let you know that we really welcome your feedback, questions, and involvement in this webinar. We're going to be giving talks to you most of today, but we want you to participate via digital channels. So I want to turn it over to our Director of Marketing, Anna Schusterman. And Anna, can you say a few words about how we want to invite our audience in?
Of course. Thank you so much, June. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. I'm the Marketing Director here at Grid Dynamics. Welcome to our webinar. I'm so glad that you were able to take some time out of your busy day to join us. I would love to get your thoughts along the way. I'll be throwing out some conversation starters throughout the time of the webinar, and please feel free to just chime in and share any of your thoughts. Also, if you have questions, you can put them into the question section, the Q&A section of the Zoom platform. Enjoy the webinar.
Anna, thank you so much. And just to remind you, along the bottom of your Zoom screen, you see a chat icon, and that's where Anna's going to be putting her conversation starters. And you also will see a Q&A icon a little further to the right. Feel free to put your questions in either to chat or to Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer those, as many as we can take during this time. And we'll either do that at the time you ask, if appropriate, or we will hold at least some of them until the end. So we really want you to participate. Feel free to speak up and share your thoughts. And I would like to now do our panel introductions. So I'd love to introduce our speakers for today. And let's see, can we put that slide back up that has our panelists on it, if you wouldn't mind? And let's get started with our intros. So Stan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. My name is Stanislav Stopolsky. I'm head of search practice in Grid Dynamics, working in Grid Dynamics for the last 11 years. My background is search and machine learning. I'm passionate about all these cutting-edge technologies and stuff that you can do with search and ML combined. Love to present today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Welcome, Stan. So happy to have you here today. And Wojo, how about you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Wojciech Krupa. I go by Wojo. I'm a CTO and a co-founder of Knowde. I've been building software applications for many years as a job, but also as a hobby. I like working with the data, from data acquisition through enrichment to search, just trying to make sense out of unstructured data.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And Francisco.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So this is Francisco Gonzalez. My background is in log analytics, observability, and search. And I manage the Amazon Opensearch Service Partner Program at AWS.
That is fantastic. And as I said, my name is June Bauer. I'm the moderator for this. I have been in marketing and in high tech for many years, starting with Apple in 1981 and working with a lot of amazing people at Apple, moving to Adobe, where I was the vice president of brand, on to Cisco, where I was the head of corporate communications. I was the CMO of WebEx and had many other jobs in this valley. And right now I work for wonderful companies like Grid Dynamics. And I am so pleased to be here to moderate this wonderful group of people today as we talk about search. So let's get started. Again, remember, you can put your comments in the chat and you can share your questions with us in either the Q&A box or in the chat. And I would like to get started by asking Stan if you wouldn't mind kicking us off today. Thanks, Stan.
Thank you, John. So let me just start with a quick overview for the recent trend that's happening in search these days. So in search, we working with search for many years, and we have a pretty big expertise in doing search and implementing search for retail. And we see that the search is going into evolution process. It's all started with full text search. The full text search is the easiest and most commonly spread technique that used for search application when you have just all terms being intersected with all products. And the intersection for the search phrase and terms and from the products is actually treated as a search results. These techniques have advantages. The biggest advantage that it's easiest to implement. But with advantages, it's also common like disadvantages. When you need to have understanding for your results, you usually don't have it, and it's very hard to predict what will be returned in the results. And in Grid Dynamics and in the community, we see that the new conception took place about like 6 or 5 years ago. We call it concept search. It's a well-known practice which used right now in many implementations for the search, and we are using it as a main work implementation when we do search. The beauty of the concept search that you trying to do query analysis and trying to understand what is the search query and how you should treat it. And in this approach, you can use additional instruments like knowledge graph, and you can enhance your search capabilities with external databases, external information. And when you have search query comes into your system, you actually understand what each concept inside this query means. You can understand what is a product type, you can understand what is the color, and you can understand which concepts have much inside your system and how this query should be treated. That give you lots of advantages, and it give you a lot of way how you can treat results, how you can rank results, and how you can bring best results for the users. And most recent techniques that we see that coming into a picture for the last 2-3 years is vector search. Vector search is a new generation of the search which used for treating the hardest queries using machine learning techniques. So these new neural networks that come in place, like transformers, like GPT-3 and all that stuff, they bring us the possibility to create a vector representation for the search query. And not only for the search query, but for products itself. And when we have representation for the search query as a vector, when we have representation for the product as a vector, we can put all of them in the same multidimensional space and search using simple mathematical algorithms inside the space. And the closest points inside the space to your query will be relevant product. That's a very interesting technique that gives us the great results. And we see that when we implementing these techniques, the vector search is a new technology which not always working good, but can treat very hard and rare queries. So what we see, we prefer to use concept search for the queries that we see a lot. We know them, they're really simple, and we can treat them with concept search very effectively. And the rest of the queries, which called long tail, we prefer to give to the vector search. So these queries can be interpreted with vector search and neural network technologies. The combinations of these techniques can give you very powerful results and can really speed up and boost your conversion in your site. And we will be talking about all these building blocks and the implementation. And our next presenter will be talking about the concept search and how it was helping them to improve their results. So, June, giving back to you.
That's great. That is very interesting, and it's exciting, the things that are starting to change in search. Lots of new opportunities. Stan, one question that's come in is, how do you measure the results in a way that will both help you understand what to do next, but also help you to get the funding to do more around search in your company?
That's a great question. So when we introducing new technology, I'm a big fan of A/B testing. So each technology that we introduce, we are running A/B tests to make sure that the existing control experience versus new experience have the difference, and this difference is significant. Whenever you have the cold start and you don't have like a previous data, it's always hard to predict you're showing like the better result or just the market getting up and you have like more engagement from like organic traffic. So if you want to really prove that the changes brings you value, you have to run A/B tests. And we have like big experience in this. We're running a simple A/B test. We're running A/B tests with multi-arm bandits. So all this stuff is really works, and it's really help you to prove the value of your new changes.
That makes total sense, A/B testing. But what do you actually? How do you know that it's working? What is the thing you're actually testing?
We're testing business metrics like conversion, click-through rate, to cart, the user engagement with the products.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect, and that's got to be really interesting and help you to really optimize the search experience. I think that's fantastic. Well, thank you for kicking us off with that information. It's a great foundation to start from. And now let's turn to Wojciech, who's going to tell us how he and his organization, Knowde, put these search practices into their own business to get some pretty amazing results. So I am going to turn it over to you, Wojciech.
Thank you. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Okay. So we're trying to build the best search engine for the chemical industry. Not an easy job. I already went through introduction. So what is Knowde? Pronounced Knowde. Knowde, it's a B2B marketplace for chemical ingredients. And the chemical industry, it's one of the biggest out there. It's worth about $5 trillion. Think about it this way. On one hand, you have the biggest chemical suppliers like Dow, DuPont, BASF. And on the other side, you have the biggest manufacturers, the biggest buyers of those chemical ingredients. And we are in the middle. We are a Series B startup headquartered in San Jose, California, with investors including Cotu, Sequoia, B Partners, and several others. Our mission statement, and I put it here, is to bring the industry that enables every physical product into the digital era. It's a tall order, and the search is a big, big part of it. So why search is important at Knowde? Many reasons. Search is not just search. It's so many other things that we get out of it. It's, of course, the information retrieval, which is the more traditional aspect of it, but there is a lot of other things. It's a discovery of emerging trends, discovery of adjacent markets for existing products, user intent understanding, right, or leads generation. It's one of the most critical features on our platform, and it's also a way for us to expose our very rich taxonomy to the world. We're trying to be the Rosetta Stone of the chemical industry. And how does it relate to you? So even though your company may be operating in a different market, the best practices of building an amazing search are still the same. And I look at it from two perspectives. One of them is you have to incorporate your domain knowledge into the search. And this is what Stan was presenting. That's the concept magic, concept understanding, right? And the other one is the engineering aspect of setting up search. And it's not easy either. You have to set up a search in a performance scalable way. The system has to be able to deal with millions of documents reindexation and a very performant way of getting your results back to your search queries in milliseconds. So why using a vendor? It really comes down to a build versus buy decision. As an engineer, I'd love to do it myself just because it's such a fantastic topic, but it's a huge challenge. And search is very vast and very deep. And this is a very short webinar, so we're not going to be able to go into all of the details. But you need to do it well. You need to be able to have expertise in DevOps, data science, information retrieval, experience building scalable systems, or even linguistics. So even though I'd love to do it myself as a CTO, my top priority is to get the best search experience in the shortest amount of time possible. So that was no brainer for me. And please feel free to put any questions in the chat. I'll take them as they come. And here you have a few examples or few samples exemplifying why doing the search the right way, it's so difficult in our industry. So the first one, SDS Vayatenza Coco PO6, which literally means, and this is the concept matching and understanding as Stan has presented in his presentation, it literally means give me safety data sheet for a product Vayatenza Coco PO6. And this is challenging not only because we need to understand the intent of the query, but it's also challenging because it's looking for not the main search object, but it's looking for accompanying document for a safety data sheet, right? And this we see a lot of those searches coming from our power users, whereas someone in a procurement role, they may be asking in a more natural language way, green sugar for cookies, right? And also take a look at ingredients name. And those are real chemical ingredients that are searchable on our platform. And your search or our search has to deal with understanding this concept in a very precise way. This is a single concept, this entire thing that I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's too difficult. But you cannot split it into tokens. It would lose its meaning. You have to understand it as the one integral concept. And of course, our industry is dealing with a lot of synonyms, and you need to be able to understand all of them as well. So we've been working at it for several months, and the results speak for themselves. And also, Stan mentioned some of the few metrics that we are also using at Knowde. Click-through rate, it nearly doubled. 60-day retention has increased, and 60-day retention is one of the most important business metric that we are using as a company, right? So more clients are coming back to use our platform and use search. And probably the most important metric for a search itself, which is the relevance on the first page. And we see it almost doubled. And the way we measure it is how many changes, how many paginations you see on the search page, the search engine results page, right? Which means that more users, they found what they were looking for on the first page without paginating to subsequent pages. And there is a bunch of other metrics. I'm not going to go over them here, but I believe those are the most important ones. And I think that's it. I believe we're trying to be the best chemical search engine out there. And I believe we achieved it, even though we are not even halfway there with implementing everything that we wanted to implement. There are so many exciting technologies out there that we haven't explored yet. And there are so many known technologies that we want to add to our platform, but we haven't gotten to them just yet. I hope this information was helpful. The most important message I wanted to get out here was building search. It's not easy, but it can be done. It just requires a lot of effort and collaboration between your domain experts and search experts. And that's one of the reasons why we were looking for, we made a decision to go with a partner, Grid Dynamics, to make it happen. And June, with this, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, a couple questions. So one question was, how did you get the funding to start this project?
How did we get the funding? So that's a good question. I mean, we are a startup, right? So we're making decisions probably slightly in a different way than bigger and much more mature corporations. We understood from the day one that search is the most critical service on our platform, right? We are trying to be a knowledge database. Marketplace, of course, but to be efficient as a marketplace, we need to be able to present this information and make it discoverable for both sides. So, and this is, I believe, our version 4 of search. And it goes back to Stan's presentation. The full text search, it was our initial attempt, and getting it up and running was relatively easy. But then to get to this level of understanding that I presented in my presentation, we had to go deeper. I think it was an easy sell to our leadership team. We've always known that we wanted to be the best, and we couldn't have done it ourselves in a short amount of time, as quickly as with an external partner. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
That does. And that is really fascinating. And I think it's so smart of Knowde to focus on search, because even as an end user of many, many products myself, it is one of the most frustrating experiences if you're on a site and you can't find what you want. And many times I go to Google instead of sitting on the site to find what I need, because I'm not getting it directly off the site, which is frustrating, and it doesn't lead to the highest customer satisfaction. So I think that you invested in it is brilliant. There was another question.
So let me just, I'm sorry, quickly respond to it. Please. This is one of the biggest endorsements we've got from some of our clients. They say they are using our platform to search for their own products, because it's easier than finding them themselves on their own websites. And it's amazing. I love hearing stories like this.
That is so amazing. That's the opposite of what I said. Yeah.
Well, no. We try to be Google of chemical industry.
Yeah. Yes. And that is a great aspiration. And it sounds like you've pretty much done that by the comments you're getting. So that is great. There was another question that came in for you, which was about, you mentioned you brought Grid Dynamics in to help you. Were there any conflicts or challenges, or maybe what were the challenges in bringing in an outside company to work right alongside your team?
Oh, that's a big topic. And I think this webinar is too short to address it. I touch on one of those. Engineers, a lot of engineers, great engineers, they love working on search just because it's a fantastic opportunity to work on a challenging and sophisticated project, right? We just didn't have the enough time nor experience to do it ourselves. But yes, we had to incorporate and our engineering team into this project. They were working very, very closely with GD team on a lot of different aspects, from setting it up, understanding how to integrate, understanding and architecting how to integrate it with our own website. And also we have a bunch of other projects, building recommendation engines that we can put on top of it, right? To score results, incorporating even a deeper understanding of our knowledge and domain into rescoring relevancy. And this is where our engineers, they will be helping, and they are helping. I think the answer is shorter to your question. There always will be some frictions. There always will be some doubts about offloading some of the most critical aspects of development of the feature of your application. But you have to make sure that you have all of the parties collaborating very closely and having a full understanding of what is being done, why it's being done, and even learning from partners like Grid Dynamics on how to do it quickly in a performant and scalable way.
Yeah, that is great. And that's great advice. So always setting the context and reminding people why you're there and how you could help each other. I think that's fantastic. Now, another question came in for you, Wojo, and I'm not sure I understand this. You can look at it in the Q&A if you like, but does your platform support search by compound similarity to Smiles or Inchi, for example?
That's a very good question. I'm not a chemist by education, so we do support some of it. I cannot tell you the extent of it. We do support. And as I've mentioned before, there is a lot of other things that we have to incorporate. And it's also on our product roadmap to incorporate understanding of those concepts. It's not fully implemented.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. And thank you for your presentation. It was very inspirational to hear what your team took on and the results that you got, and really appreciate hearing that story. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our next speaker, and that would be Francisco. Francisco, welcome. And we will need you to come off mute, please.
Great. Perfect. So hopefully you hear me and also you see my screen. That's great. Okay, so this is Francisco Gonzalez. Again, I manage the partner program for Amazon Opensearch Service at AWS. It's a pleasure for me to be here with Grid Dynamics. Grid Dynamics is very strong with search and is ready to help you with your Amazon Opensearch Service projects. So the goal today is I'm going to provide a quick overview of the Opensearch project and the Amazon Opensearch Service. So let's start with the Amazon Opensearch use cases. So these two are the main two use cases, log analytics and observability, and then search and full text search. So log analytics and observability is about management of human and machine or system generated data, structure and semi-structure. Data may be coming from different websites such as applications, systems, networking, social media, IoT, and you may need to correlate these logs with other metrics and traces or business insights, and also use advanced features such as machine learning for anomaly detection. Common samples are performance and security monitoring, observability, alerting, or auditing. The second and main use case is search and full text search. Our applications require very fast and real-time search at scale with relevant results from structured and semi-structured data. In this case, it includes document portal, e-commerce, and also machine learning personalized recommendations. OpenSearch is based on Lucene inverted index, so it's able to provide really fast search results for data coming in real time. And I think this is one of the key features for data coming in real time. So now let's introduce the OpenSearch open source project. So OpenSearch is an open source community project. We have the open source project, and then we have the Amazon Opensearch Service. The Amazon Opensearch Service is the managed service for the OpenSearch community project. OpenSearch is a community-driven open source project for search and analytics, and it started as a fork of Elasticsearch, and it's been out there for more than a year and a half now. Amazon is committed to this community project, and other large organizations are also contributing to the project. OpenSearch has now advanced functionality and features. The team is releasing new features every quarter. Some of the advanced features include high cardinality, anomaly detection, trace analytics, OpenSearch dashboards, and more. You can check and review the roadmap at opensearch.org. So OpenSearch is a community project, but what are the benefits of it being a community project? So it's 100% open source, so you as a customer can see, review, change, improve, and monetize the code if you want to. This is very relevant. You can build solutions on top of OpenSearch without paying a license. It's community-driven, so any organization or individual can contribute and influence the roadmap. This means that it really captures the market and customer needs, and it reacts faster to market trends. And then it's also enterprise ready, since Amazon is pushing for this community project and has an enterprise managed service built on top of OpenSearch. It has an enterprise mindset, and this translates to more secure, more compliance, easier to manage, and also to scale. So let's switch to the managed service now. So Amazon Opensearch Service is the managed service on top of the OpenSearch community project, and it enables you to ingest, secure, search, aggregate, view, and analyze data at multi-petabyte scale without the operational cost of having to manage your own clusters. So we have the open source project that you can download and run on-premise or self-manage, but Amazon has an offering for you. That's the managed service. And so you don't need to manage your clusters and nodes and so on. So let's see the three main reasons why you will want to migrate or build your new solution on top of Amazon Opensearch Service. The first one is management and scalability. You can have a very large cluster with up to 200 nodes and 3 petabytes in minutes. So very easy to manage with cross-replication, active-passive, upgrades, backups, and more. Amazon Opensearch Service scales, and this is very important because many existing installations of log analytics and search does not scale, or scaling is very hard. So this is one of the many reasons why customers are moving to Opensearch Service. Data is growing exponentially, and customers need a solution that scales. Then is price performance. Graviton processors get about 44% better price performance. On top of it, you have ultra-warm nodes and cold storage with the potential of 90% cost reduction. This on top of the great pricing you get with AWS. Also, last week at reInvent, we announced Amazon Opensearch Serverless. This is a great new functionality that allows you to easily scale when your application needs it without having to provision ahead. So Opensearch Serverless is a game changer for your log analytics and search. And then is security and compliance. You have the latest securities available, such as encryption with the key management service, Cognito, SAML 24/7 monitoring of your cluster, and so on. You're also in compliance with many standard and industry regulations, such as ISO, FedRAMP, and so on. So if we go a little bit deeper into price performance, since May 2021, Amazon Opensearch Service supports Graviton processor instances. And in OpenSearch, we've seen about 44% better price performance. In this chart, you can see that for some of the testing and the benchmark, we see 38% improvement in indexing, 50% less indexing latency, and 40% increase query performance. Then, if we keep covering price performance, and this is key for your search workloads, we can take advantage of ultra-warm and cold storage. So ultra-warm nodes provide you with up to 90% cost reduction, and is using S3 and a sophisticated cache solution. It only supports reads in S3, so if you need to write, it will automatically return the index to hot storage. It still has the 3 petabyte limitation, and it has less query performance compared to hot nodes. But the great benefit is that it is transparent to your application and users, so they only see a very small decrease in performance. The most common scenario is when you rarely use historical data. For some customers, it may be 5 years. For other customers, it may be 3 months. Another strategy is cold storage. Cold storage is using S3 infrequent access, and the data in this case is only available on demand. Indices are moved to S3 infrequent access, and there is no data limit in this case. You can move as much data as you want. The only problem is that you have on-demand access, meaning that in order for you to have the data available, you will need to move it to an ultra-warm node. So customers with large volumes, these are customers out there ingesting terabytes per day or petabytes, are using multiple clusters and warm nodes and cold storage strategies. So in terms of dealing with multiple clusters, Amazon Opensearch Service supports active passive and having a replica in another region. And that region could be in a different continent. We have customers that have an active replica in the United States and then a passive replica in Europe. On top of that, you have closed cluster search. That's what is in the screen. Closed cluster search is a great functionality in Amazon Opensearch Service because it allows you to perform search across 2 clusters. So each of these clusters may be in different domains, and it helps you increase scalability, availability, security, and efficiency. So let's wrap up. I was very quick. I wanted to provide you with a quick introduction to the Opensearch community project and the Amazon Opensearch Service. Thousands of customers are now running workloads in Opensearch Service. So I empower you to evaluate the service if you're not using it yet. Great. Thank you.
Okay, that was fantastic, Francisco. Thank you so much for that. Do you have any examples, or can you share a little more about searching across 2 clusters? Somebody actually asked about that and was wondering in what kind of a situation would you be looking at doing that? And do you have any results of how much that has helped?
In some cases, it may be about the same type of data. So maybe for the last 3 years, you have a cluster using hot nodes, but then for data older than 3 years, you have another cluster leveraging ultra warm nodes for better price performance, and you can do cross-cluster search, and that will return search results across both clusters, meaning all your timeline for your business. That is if it's the same domain in terms of search. You can also do cross search to a different search domain, meaning a different topic, because your search requires that type of a scenario. So it's a great feature for you to get creative on whatever your need is.
Yeah, that's great flexibility. And it seems like so much of what AWS is doing now is giving customers more flexibility in how they set up and use search to really become an advantage for their business. Another question that came in, Francisco, is around implementation of Opensearch. So typically, if you're going to implement Opensearch using managed services, what's involved in that? How much time does it take? Who from each team is involved? If you can give us a little more of a insight into that, that would be great.
Well, if you're familiar with Opensearch, it requires you to manage the nodes and your whole cluster. With Amazon Opensearch Service, that's the managed service, you can have a cluster ready within minutes to help you perform log analytics, observability, and search for whatever workloads you have. So very simple to spin a cluster in AWS, and depending on your scenario, we have tutorials for search, for observability, for log analytics, for security, for you to get started.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, those are the questions that have come in for you so far. Thank you very much. That was a very informative and helpful presentation. I would like to take it back to Stan to come back and end where we started, and Stan, to ask you to share your thoughts with us now.
Yes, thank you, John. I seen in chat the question was about instruments that we're planning to build. And that's a great question because I'm actually want to present one of the instruments that we're building on top of the experience that we have for the last 12 years working with retail and with the search. And in taking into account what Francisco does and just told us, we evaluated Opensearch and we found that it's a great instrument for building the system on top of it. So we have our internal project. We call it Search Starter Kit, which we building inside Grid Dynamics, and it's a starter kit that help you to start the new search migration or even enhance existing search system with different components very quickly. And this starter kit contains multiple modules that incorporates state-of-the-art techniques in the search industry. We're using capabilities from Opensearch, capabilities for managed services, so we don't need to take time and write scripts to manage services, to do replication, all that stuff. We're using search technologies that it's providing for the search and relevancy. And one of the interesting things that we're using right now, we're using KNN plugin to build the vector search functionality on top of it. So we take all modern standard industry standards for the search features, and we compose it into a deployable solution that consists from multiple models. And it contains the product search, it contains autocomplete, it contains the merchandising framework, we call it merchandising rules. And it can be deployed in your environment and can be configured and customized for your needs. It's not only providing you the retrieval part, it's actually providing you the possibility to do multiple levels of result writing. So we was talking the first part of our discussion was talking about how we can retrieve results, but there's lots of steps that needs to be done after results is retrieved. there are different layers of re-ranking that's happening on top. And if you have relevancy, and if you're using concept search or vector search, you can have relevancy buckets, which help you to understand which of the products is most relevant, which of the products is less relevant, and which was added just as the similar topic. And we can use this relevancy bucket as the first tier, and we can add multiple tiers using our system on top, which incorporates the business signals, which incorporate the standard machine learning techniques that widely used in the industry, like learn to rank. We also have the personalization model, which works in two ways. It works as a history personalization, your preference from the long history, and session intent personalization. The most important part of personalization is an immediate intent. As example, if you're searching for, and you've seen probably before, if you're searching for a refrigerator, once you search for a refrigerator, you always have the ads for like several months that's showing you a refrigerator. Even if you never searched after that, you have intent saved inside the search engine, which suggests to show you refrigerators. But the thing is that if you searching for a refrigerator and then you switch on the refrigerator filters, that's the actual intent that you're looking for. And since that moment, we need to stop showing you a refrigerator and we need to start showing you refrigerator accessories, because we need to understand that you already bought refrigerator and you need to have something related to it. So that's something that can be done using our system, and we call it like session intent and result ranking. And we have all these modules that take the power of the Opensearch and building the infrastructure on top of it. We have modules that can be deployed as a single platform or as a separate component inside your ecosystem if you're looking for modernization. We have concept search, we have neural search, we have result personalization, AI recommendation, search indicing, all that stuff in the form of starter kit. And that's our tool that we developing in-house, and we bring to our customers and for their custom implementations. That's what I want to say today. And I hope you have any questions so I can follow up on them, and we'll be glad to talk about it. Drew, going back to you.
Yes, thank you, Stan. That was great. And there is one question here, which is, if I want to work with you on the starter kit, how do you and AWS work together? Should I be going to AWS first and then to you, or do you work on the project together? So some implementation advice, it sounds like.
So AWS is our partner. If you have already AWS cloud, you don't need to have any additional contract signs. It's one of the services inside this platform. We're using Opensearch, and you start the contract with us. We bring our technologies, and we're building our technologies on top of your cloud. If you don't have connections with AWS cloud yet, we can set up the conversation with AWS team, and we can start this engagement all together. So you can be familiar with AWS platform in general and in our solution in particular.
That's great. And is this service available now?
It's available with our engagement. It's not published in marketplace yet. We're thinking about like publishing either like part of it or like the standard kit in marketplace.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know. And I see another question came in that I think just missed Francisco while he was presenting, which Francisco, for you, is knowing that Opensearch is derived from Elasticsearch. How is Amazon Search different, or how does Amazon Search differentiate from managed Elasticsearch on AWS? Reasonable question.
Yeah, so Opensearch is now think of it of a new product. It's been out there of a different product. It's been out there for 18 months now. It's had new functionality, so it is different than Elasticsearch. So initially it was a fork, but now they're separate, different products. And in Amazon OpenSearch Service, you have the new functionality of OpenSearch, and then you have the functionality specific for the managed service, such as the serverless option. The serverless option, it's a great functionality that enables you to be able to scale when your application needs it without having to provision before. So that is giving you great price performance. This is only available with OpenSearch and Amazon Opensearch Service. So right now, 18 months after the fork, they're different products. So it's not that it's the same service, but with the managed service. They're completely different products now.
Yeah, is there anything else, Francisco, you could add that makes them different? It sounds like the question was about differentiation. It sounds like one of them is the what you just talked about, but is there anything else, or do you have an advice for where to go to learn more about these?
Yeah, you can go to the opensearch.org community project, and some of the very interesting functionality is the observability plugin, the security plugin, and again, the serverless option. That's something you only get with OpenSearch, and that really gives you an edge in terms of price performance. So that's something you will not get. That is new and customers are adopting as of now.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering that. So I have one final question I'm going to put this out to all of you and see what you all think. But if you were giving advice to a company that said, we really want to improve our search, from your perspective, and you guys are all total experts in search, what would be your advice on gotchas or things to watch out for or ensure that you consider as you take on a project like search in your company? And Stan, can I kick it off with you?
So if I understood the question correctly, which key points you need to check when you're starting like the new search migration, right?
Right. And where might you make mistakes that maybe you wouldn't consider from the beginning? What should you be aware of that you guys know because you have so much experience?
Oh, that's a very wide question. So there was a question about build versus buy. So that's something that you probably need to figure out first when you're going for the big search migration. So we stand build versus buy if you have like very general approach for the search and you don't need any like additional instruments and you don't need any additional configurations, you can easily go with buy. But if you have like some interesting market or interesting use cases or like rich merchandising that you need to control, like the example that Wojciech was presenting in Knowde, they have like very narrow, very interesting market, and the build solution is not the best fit for it. You need to do a lot of customization for it. So the only option you can actually go is build. And after you deciding like build versus buy, you actually have like a roadmap or plan how to build these things or buy these things. And the second most important thing is that you need to understand what's your criteria of the search quality. You need to understand how you like see the quality of the search when it's good and when it's bad. It's actually a very hard decision to do. It sounds easy, but because the search is not the solved problem, it's one of the most important things to understand.
That's great advice. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, Wojo, you have actually gone through this experience for your own company and very successfully, I may say. But what are some of the things, or at least one thing you learned that was a bit of a surprise, or would you like to make sure other people are aware of as they may follow you on this journey?
Sure. And then going back to your question, right? How do you improve the search? How do you know that you need to improve your search, right? And this is, to me, there are two aspects to it, right? There may be this performance aspect, engineering aspect. If your search is slow, of course, you have to do something and so on, right? Maybe there is some UX changes that you need to make. Maybe there are too many aggregations, filters, and such. But, I'm going to put it aside. It's more of an engineering one, right? But there is also the search relevancy itself, right? And my advice here is talk to your SMEs, talk to your subject matter experts, to your domain experts. They know whether your search, the results are good or not, right? I mean, in my domain, chemical industry, I'm not from chemical industry. I have to ask my people who have PhD in chemistry, and they tell me this looks good, even though the token frequency would suggest otherwise, right? So it's very important to talk to your people, create your golden set of queries, make sure that you're getting the results that you're expecting, right? It's very important. And if you don't, it's time to start tweaking and talking to pros that can help you with fine-tuning your search to get the results that are expected in your domain.
I love that. I love talking to your domain experts. It was making me think that when you speak a foreign language, you don't know how many stupid mistakes you're making, but if you're a native speaker, it's obvious. And those domain experts are native speakers in the content. And so getting them to weigh in is going to be so helpful and not necessarily obvious to many of us who are approaching this search challenge. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to turn it over finally and end with Francisco. And Francisco, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So I think my recommendation, my suggestion is that the underlying platform helps you support management and scalability, security, and price performance. There is a huge operational cost dealing with your nodes, with security, with trying to have a good performance at a price that makes sense. So building your solution on top of a service such as Amazon Opensearch Service, I think it makes a lot of sense instead of trying to manage your solution on-prem or self-managed. You're going to be dealing with lots of issues that don't have anything to do with your business application, your search solution. So better use a managed service. That's my recommendation.
Yes, and that is fantastic because there's no reason to go through that pain when you have the option to make it easy for yourself. There's going to be enough challenges with the search itself, as we heard from Stan and Wojo. So I think that's very wise advice. Well, I think this has been a fantastic session, and I know I have learned a lot about search and truly enjoyed each of your presentations. I do hope our audience has felt the same and learned some things from this presentation. I know all of our panelists would love to know you, and if you have personal questions, you could certainly link in with any of them. As the host of this session, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy days to join us and be a part of this. We appreciate your questions, your thoughts, and I want to thank our panelists who did a fantastic job. Really appreciate your help in illuminating this incredibly important topic of search. And I would love to invite all of you to join us again soon for another Grid Dynamics Dynamic Talk. For now, go forward and have a great day. And hopefully we'll see you all back here soon.